Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. I recently chopped up my large jade plant here. I cut off every single leaf and I did a fairly hard root prune on it as well. I'll leave the link to the video somewhere up in the top corner here if you want to go check it out. But after that video, I received an influx of questions asking where people should prune their plants. But I would always end the conversation with, don't do it now, and I'll explain why. So here's the plant now. It's just a couple days away from the start of October. You can see lots of new growth. Cute little plump green leaves, but you might be asking yourself, why can't I prune right now? This one is looking absolutely fantastic. It is growing. This plant is under grow lights. I have the 3 gooseneck Sansi grow bulbs, and it gets consistent light 12 hours a day, every single day for 365 days a year. All of my plants downstairs here think it's summer. They get consistent conditions all the time. But when it comes to pruning a plant in natural sunlight, it can be a little bit more challenging. This is my south-facing window where I keep a lot of my cacti and succulents. I do have a little shelf over here as well. But as we are well into fall, the days are getting shorter, which means the plant is slowing its growth. Basically, it's preparing for winter, so it's storing all its energy, and sometimes these actually go dormant as well. And this is why you reduce watering over winter, because the plant is not photosynthesizing as much as it is in the summer, so it doesn't need as much water. It's not consuming as much water throughout the winter months. So I'll probably water mine maybe once a month, whereas in the summer it might be once every 2 weeks inside. Outdoors, it might be once every few days just because of the increased light and heat. So because the plant is slowing its growth, it's not using as much water and it's not photosynthesizing as much. So that's why pruning in the fall time is probably not a good time for the plant, just because you might see slow growth or no growth at all. And that's why you hear people say to prune plants in the spring and summer, because the plant is coming out of its winter dormancy, or its winter sleep, I guess you can call it. It is receiving more light, you're watering it more, and it's producing more sugars needed for growth. So that's why pruning in the springtime is really good for the plant, because it has a number of months for continued growth. Now, does that mean you cannot prune in fall? Well, no. Basically, my rule of thumb is anytime the plant is actively growing, you can prune. And sometimes if you have a plant in high light like I do, you may get slow growth, or you may still get growth even through the winter months. So as long as the plant is actively growing, then you can still prune, but it's optimal to do it in the spring because you're going to see that big burst of energy. And the way you can tell whether a plant is growing or not is if you see little leaves popping through, like right there. So that little nub right there, that is a new leaf popping through. You can see down there as well, this little thing, see if I can get in there nice and close, that is a new leaf forming as well. So this is telling me that the plant is still actively growing. It's got these little leaves kind of all over the plant. You can see down here as well, that little speck, that is a new leaf forming. So this plant, even though we are approaching October, it is still actively pushing out new growth. So pruning this, you still could, but you might see slower growth going forward as we approach winter. Personally, I like to wait until springtime. Like I said, that's when you get the big burst of growth and energy. And what I like to do is, if it has grown over the winter months, I just like to cut back my stems or my branches here to about 3, maybe 2 or 3 nodes. Keep those branches nice and short. And then when you make a cut or a prune, then it'll just branch out further. I'll let that one grow for about 2 or 3 nodes, and then I'll keep cutting it back throughout the season. That's how I get this nice tree-like structure. Plus it also helps thicken up the main trunk of the stem as well. So it just helps with establishing a better support system for long-term growth. I'm actually going to do a little experiment right now and chop the top off of this one right here, and you may see a little bit of spider webs down here as well. So obviously there is someone inhabiting this tree, but I'll have to spray it off again because these plants were outside for the last couple months, just exploding in growth. So I'm going to chop off like right at the top here. I'm going to do that. and I'll keep an eye on the progress with this. Watch my Instagram account. I'll probably do like a YouTube short with an update probably in a few weeks with this fresh cut end here. And as a little experiment, I'm just going to take the leaves off and I'm going to stick this right back in the soil. So you just pluck the leaves off like that. So I just made a little divot in the soil like that. I'm going to plunk this guy in there like that. And then I'm simply going to take these little individual leaves and just place them along the pot like that. And it should turn into a little guy like this. I have to water this as well. I only water my propagations when the plant needs to be watered. So the way I tell whether a plant needs to be watered or not is the taco test. If you can slightly fold or bend a jade leaf, then it needs to be watered. These are normally very plump and solid. So if they get a little bit pliable like this, then the plant needs water, especially, well, if the soil is absolutely bone dry and you can bend the leaves, give it some water. That's how I tell whether my plant needs to be watered in the winter and summer. This is pretty much a foolproof method of knowing when to water a jade plant. So this is just straight tap water, and I'm just going to soak the plant as I normally would in the summer, just like that. So I'm going to wait till it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. Hopefully it doesn't overflow. But another thing I do not do in the winter months is give it fertilizer. Once we start to reach kind of that April-ish, end of April, then I'll start fertilizing at half strength until they go outside. Uh-oh, we're getting a little full. I'm going to actually let that sit there and soak up a little bit, and then I'll empty out the saucer probably in about 10-15 minutes. But that's how I water my plants. Ooh, we're getting pretty close. This is how I water them even in the winter. But like I said, I'll pay attention to the leaves, and if the leaves are soft, then I will give it some water. Ooh, we're getting pretty close. Stand by, I'm gonna have to empty this. Okay, crisis averted. I definitely did not want it to overflow and go down my floor register or floor vent there. So yeah, I probably water like on average once a month in the winter, maybe once every 2 weeks in the summer if they go outside once every few days. So the jades are now back inside just as the nightly temperatures are getting a little bit on the low side. I bring them back in if the nighttime temperatures are consistently 10 degrees or less. So I definitely don't want them to freeze. So the last thing I want to show is just the light comparison in fall time here from inside to outside with my light meter. So I have my light meter at times 10. So whatever the reading is, it's times 10. So this is the foot candles at the window right here. And it's 5,000 foot candles. So it's still getting a ton of bright light in this south-facing window, kind of mid-afternoon. I would say it's about 1 o'clock. So here's my big south-facing window. Nothing but blue sky today. I brought the plant outside on the table here. This is where it's spent pretty much the majority of the last couple months, just on this little table here, getting full south sun. As you can see, pointed directly at the sun, it is getting 11,000 foot candles. So it loses about half of its light source simply going from outside to inside, or having your plant inside. It's about a little more than half of the foot candle loss just from being indoors. So having the plant inside in your brightest window is key throughout the fall and winter. I do get some questions asking why my plant isn't doing well, but you want to make sure that there's no trees or buildings obscuring the window. They have to receive bright light, and if you have tree cover in front of your window, it's probably not going to be getting enough light. So you can definitely prune at any point in the year. If it is in the fall or winter and it's not receiving sufficient light, just add a grow light, put it on a timer for 12 hours a day, and that should do the trick. So I hope you found this video informative and useful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Appreciate all the support. Take care, everyone. Bye.